Kim from Stamping Imperfection. I'm here with a video for Maker Forte, and I'm playing with some stuff from the May release. This was just released, and I'm starting with this slimline pattern paper from Alex Siberia's collection called Art Deco. And Maker Forte has started to include on that back page, they've started to include a plain laser inked piece of paper so you can use that to foil in different ways. And I'm going to show you one way to foil that today with one of the new products that just got released. So I'm just trimming down a piece of silver foil, and I'm actually going to foil this black and white side. The blue is really pretty, but if you try to foil that, the dark blue will actually foil, so you won't get the pattern. So I put it so that the side I want to foil is on the back of the foil. It's touching the back of the foil. The shine of the side of the foil goes up, and I put it in a carrier sheet. This is just a plain sheet of copy paper folded in half, and I put it in fold side first. Then when it's done, I pull it out and remove that top piece of foil paper. And how pretty is that? It's just so shiny in person. It's hard to really see on camera. So I have a piece of black cardstock. I cut it 8.5 by 8.5. Then I scored and folded it at 4.25. To do my sentiment, I'm going to pull out this love and courage. I'm just loving the sentiments in the set. They're amazing, and I'm going to use that one in the bottom left corner that says be your own kind of beautiful, because I really love that. I think it's a beautiful sentiment. I'll use that large one on the next card. I'm going to make 2 cards today, and the other one is using a couple new interesting products that Maker Forte just came out with. So I'm putting this sentiment into my MISTI. I put the vellum in there also, and I'm going to heat emboss this. So I'm pulling out my clear embossing ink, and this is from Maker Forte. They have the Color Hive ink that they're coming out with, and you'll see some of the new colors that just came out later in the video. So I'm using that smooshing tool to really push down on my MISTI, and this is black embossing powder. I have no idea what brand this is, actually. It might be several brands mixed together, I'm not really sure. So I'm just cleaning it up, and then I'm going to heat set this. So I'm not going to show that because it's not very interesting, and you've probably done it yourself a bunch of times. So I'll just heat set this. Oh, I lied. I am showing it. Now, I am actually using heat. I don't know if it's called heat resistant, but it's vellum that it's okay to heat. Sometimes not all vellums are created equally as far as whether you can emboss on them. So this is special embossing paper that is able to tolerate the heat without like melting on you. So I trimmed down that piece, and then I just dabbed some glue on behind the letters, and I'm going to adhere it to a piece of black, and I'm just going to trim this down. And I want a lot of that background to show. I just started foiling things the past 2 months, and I love foiling. I can't get enough. I think it's fabulous that I can use a $20 laminator that I use for many other techniques, by the way, and other projects. So I'm excited about this. So here's that back page. I'm pulling out, Maker Forte just came out with a couple of dies, and this die is, I'm trying to find it. This die is called Find Your Compass, and it is gorgeous. So I am putting it, I'm just die cutting a piece of that special sheet that they included in that paper packet, and I believe all their paper packets now include that. The ones that being released from now until whenever. Excuse me. So I just die cut that out. Those are special papers they're including so you can create things like this and foil them. So I'm just using my Spellbinders tool to pop this out, and isn't that gorgeous? It's just beautiful. It even has the north, south, east, west on it. I just love this die cut. And their die cuts come in a really nice little packaging that you can actually, it's got Velcro closure, and it's heavy duty, like not chipboard but tag board, and it's, the dies themselves have a special coating on them so that the papers and stuff do pop out really easily. So because they are very intricately cut. So I'm actually putting this down again. I'm putting the black ink, laser inked side of that paper down against the back side of my foil, and this time I'm using an ocean blue color, and I love this part. So pretty. And I'm saving that piece because that's going to be on a card. I'll put a piece of acetate behind it and use that on a card also. So I'm just going to use some double-sided adhesive tape to stick this down and attach it to my card base. In fact, I'll use adhesive tape on the back of the sentiment, and I'm going to use some liquid glue on the back of that foil die cut. I love that I'm able to foil my die cuts like this. You know, you can buy packages of these, I'm not sure what they're called, transfer sheets, I'm not sure what they're called, but I think that's a pretty great thing for Maker Forte to include in their paper packs. And they're including them in their newly released Simple Sayings sentiment cut-aparts as well. So I'm using my 0 ruler. This has a 0 in the center, so I can actually line things up in the center very easily. So I put the 0 in the center of my paper, and I know it's in the center because it starts counting from 1 to the right and then 1 to the left, so I can see that it's lined up at exactly the same point on the ruler on each side. So I'm dabbing. This is really intricate. So I have a fine tip glue applicator tip here, and I'm adding some liquid adhesive on the back of that as much as I can, and I'm trying to make sure I get all the edges, and I'm using my tweezers to put that down and lining it up and just pressing it down, and I'm going to dab up any glue that might be squeezing out of there, and that is so pretty. I have my very favorite crown jewel gems are these Vegas strip ones, and I usually only put 3 on a card because I want these to last forever. Honestly, I love them, but I had a couple spots where the glue showed a little on the vellum, so I'm going to put a crown jewel gem over those spots, and I'm going to put 5 crown jewel gems all together. And you can see that the 3 that aren't on the vellum, I'm trying to make a triangular shape with, and there's a lot of talk about that visual triangle, and it really is an appealing thing when you see that. So that's going to complete that card, and it's so sparkly and shiny. I love this card, and it was pretty quick and easy to do. The longest part was waiting for the laminating machine to warm up. So like I said, that piece of foil is going to get used on another card. So now I have, and one of the new things they just released is this is called a perfect placement tool, and this is the square one. There's a round one with squares on it, and then there's this one with squares and rectangles on it. And you can't see the lines, but I can see their like raised embossed lines on this. This is like a nice stencil material that this is made out of, so it's easy to wipe off when you get ink on it, and it's perfect to use apparently for your gel press. I have not tried that yet, but Maker Forte has come out with a couple of different sets of layering stencils. So I'm actually going to put a piece of tape underneath that to hold it in place. And I've lined up my paper with there's a rectangle that's 4 by 5 1/4, which is the size of my paper. So that paper is perfectly lined up with that. And then there's a big 6 by 6 inch square that my stencil is lined up with. You can't see those lines, but I can see them. So that if stuff moves, like just happened here, I can actually just lift up my stencil, slide the paper back into the rectangle where it's perfectly placed, and then do the same thing with my stencil and move on. So that was stencil 1A, and that ink is the Rah Rah Skirt ink, and it is a beautiful bright pink. And I only inked my blending tool one time there. That all of that ink came from a one inking. So I decided to put a magnet down. The grid mat I have underneath my Teflon mat is actually magnetic. So if you have a mat that is magnetic, definitely it's so much easier to put a magnet right on top. You'll have to slide it around a little bit. And this is the Bokeh Stars layering set, and I believe this was designed by Varada Sharma. I'm pretty sure. But it's pretty fun, actually. So I used the Purple Rain ink. That's one of their other inks that was released. I'm not sure whether that was released this month or last month. And then the blue is called Acid Wash, and I'm using 3A stencil and just going over the top of that. And I'm loving this so far. It's making this easy. And they have a circle set like this that does the same thing. There's a star set and a circle set. And most of the time when I do the bokeh technique, I do it with circles. But the stars are really fun. There's so many occasions you can use it for. And they have released a lot of stamp sets that work with like military personnel and frontline workers, and I think a star background is just a wonderful thing. So I needed one more color, so I pulled out this bright chiffon yellow from my Catherine Pooler inks to have the fourth, because this is stencil number 4. You could just use one stencil if you wanted, or two, you could do however many you want. And that you can kind of see the lines there. It's pretty nice, and it's also designed so that you can rotate your stencils and line them up perfectly with that also. So I'm going to use this big bold sentiment. It is just gorgeous. It actually says, be bold enough to use your voice, brave enough to listen to your heart, and strong enough to live the life you've always imagined. And I thought, how wonderful. What a wonderful sentiment this would be to send someone. So I am just putting a little bit of tape behind, temporary tape behind my piece to hold it in place. And then I'm just going to ink this up with my Color Hive black ink, the Eclipse black ink. And this is a very quick and easy card. And this, I could have done this directly on the card base and had a single layer card. And such a quick and easy technique with a lot of color. And there you go. And that's going to complete the card front, really. So I'm just going to add it to a piece of cardstock that matches the blue ink, that acid wash blue ink. And my white panel that I've been working on is 4 by 5 1/4. The cardstock panel that I have there is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I've got a card base cut at 4 1/4 by 11, which I will score and fold at 5 1/2. Excuse me. And I'll attach this to that card base. And then I'll just add a couple of crown jeweled gems and my card will be done. So that is the Love and Courage stamp set. And You can see I'm just adding the 3 crown jewel gems, and again I'm attempted to make my visual triangle there, and I've got lots of color. I feel like that's a colorful, happy card. So that completes the 2 cards that I have, and I will list below all of the products that I used today. Everything is from Maker Forte, and the all the new tools that they've come out with, like that smooshing tool and so forth. So I will include all that stuff in the list. I would love it if you gave this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel while you're here, and click that bell to get notifications every time you upload a new video. And if you're interested in a virtual weekend, check out the Hollow Days link below. So thank you for watching, my friends. Have a fantastic day.